Throughout the years, cinema has been controlled by the male gaze. In so many films, women have been included as a spectacle, always being displayed for someone, whether in the film's world or reality. In Hollywood, cinema has been made by men, for men, with men. In good news, many filmmakers have taken steps toward dismantling this idea and in its place implementing the female gaze. One example of this phenomenon is in the 2019 film Little Women, which is written and directed by Greta Gerwig. Using Laura Mulvey's ideas in the article Visual Pleasure in Narrative Cinema, I will explain how Little Women is an example of how the male gaze can be broken in cinema. The difference between the male and the female gaze is how women are viewed by both the spectator and diegetic characters. In the male gaze, women are depicted as sexual objects for the pleasure of the heterosexual male viewer. In the female gaze, women are depicted as people, not objects, in the eye of the female spectator. In this scene in Little Women, Amy explains to Laurie how she views herself in her future.
I'm a failure. Joe is in New York being a writer, and I'm a failure.
That's quite a statement to make at 20.
Well, Rome took all the vanity out of me, and Paris made me realize I'd never be a genius, so I'm giving up all my foolish artistic hopes.
As the youngest, she feels obsolete in comparison with her sisters. As she moves around, the camera follows her, ranging from full shots to medium close-ups, all of which emphasize what she is doing and saying, rather than how she looks. On page 13, Mulvey states, "Camera technology and camera movements, combined with invisible editing, all tend to blur the limits of screen space. The male protagonist is free to command the stage, a stage of spatial illusion in which he articulates the look and creates the action." Generally in films, the camera adopts the gaze of men, surveying or framing women in a seductive manner. In this scene, Amy has all of the power. Laurie is only shown occasionally, and even then, he is in a similar shot size to her, not overbearing her. The things that Amy says also fight against the male perspective as she explains the place of women in society during the 1860s.
Now that you've given up all your foolish artistic hopes, what are you going to do with your life?
Polish up all my other talents and become an ornament to society.
That's where Fred Vaughn comes in, I suppose.
Don't make fun.
I said his name. You're not engaged, I hope.
No.
But you will be if he goes down properly on one knee?
Most likely, yes. He's rich, richer than you even.
When Laurie tries to call her out,
I understand queens of society can't get on without money, although it does sound odd from the mouth of one of your mother's girls.
Amy explains her position.
I've always known I would marry rich. Why should I be ashamed of that?
There's nothing to be ashamed of, as long as you love him.
Well, I believe we have some power over who we love. It isn't something that just happens to a person.
I think the poets might disagree.
Well, I'm not a poet. I'm just a woman.
She takes control of the narrative and explains the historic place of women in society.
And as a woman, there's no way for me to make my own money. Not enough to earn a living or to support my family. And if I had my own money, which I don't, that money would belong to my husband the moment we got married. And if we had children, they would be his, not mine. They would be his property. So don't sit there and tell me that marriage isn't an economic proposition, because it is. It may not be for you, but it most certainly is for me. Oh, that's Fred. Can you unbutton me, please?
As Laurie helps Amy take off her apron, the camera focuses on the two of them together, as well as Laurie's hands. The female gaze is in effect here, as his hands are the subject of the shot, rather than his looks or body. It shows that something as simple or delicate as the movement of fingers has appealed to women. Something else that Mulvey explained about the male gaze is how the spectator adopts the views of the male protagonist. On page 12, she says, "As a spectator identifies with the main male protagonist, he projects his look onto that of his like, his screen surrogate, so that the power of the male protagonist as he controls events coincides with the active power of the erotic look, both giving a satisfying sense of omnipotence." During this scene, when Amy asks how she looks before she leaves the studio,
How do I look? Do I look all right?
Laurie replies,
You look beautiful.
he then corrects himself, saying,
You are beautiful.
The set of phrases in itself is the embodiment of the female gaze, as Laurie sees Amy in a way that isn't just about her looks, but also her personality and character. Through this, the spectator may adopt the same beliefs, thus opening their eyes to the fact that women are more than just their appearance. Quoting Mulvey, "In a world ordered by sexual imbalance, pleasure in looking has been split between active male and passive female. Now, with the development of feminist theory, the depth of female characters has expanded into something that is more than just looks." The way that Greta Gerwig wrote and directed this scene in Little Women gave power back to female characters and fought against the male perspective. If more filmmakers adopt these techniques, as a society, we can break the gender dynamics in film and stop the reproduction of sexist ideologies.